So at 16, I went off to college and had an interesting experience. I had figured out that I'd have to start immediately the first year with biology, or else I would never get through the whole sequence. Because each biology was a year, chemistry was a year, physics was a year, and if I wanted to take an advanced course in the high school, I would have to start the first year with biology. At that time, biology was taught in two groups, a girls' class and a boys' class. High school. Believe it or not. They didn't want us talking about sex in the high school, except boys together or girls together. There I was at the end of the alphabet, and who do you think got left out of the girls' class? Me. There was no more room in the girls' class. So how was I going to be faithful to myself and do my whole sequence if I couldn't get into biology the first term, first year? So I went to the dean, and I argued and I argued and I argued. Finally, they relented and they said, "Okay, you can go in the boys' class." There was room there. There I was, the only girl in a room full of boys. I had to sit in the back, and everybody was so afraid to even talk to me that one of my cousins, who I didn't recognize, but he told me after the class, one of my cousins was in the class, and he never spoke to me. I made some very good friends there, and I had no trouble with with the class or with the material. Whatever they talked about even with me there. They just ignored me.
But what did they talk about sex? Did they tell you?
I don't remember. I don't remember what the point was of separating the girls from the boys in biology, but I did okay. That was one of the funny, not so funny. If I hadn't been adamant that I had to be in that class, I would have been very unhappy. Anyway, that was my first year at college. Everything. Then I met Hi that summer, and that took up a fair amount of my time when we got back to school. He was in the math line, I was in the science line, so we were in different buildings all the time. We used to meet on the steps between the two buildings. There was a steps and a walk between the two buildings. He tutored me in math, and I flunked it. After having been the best student in the class in high school, I ended up flunking math. Never redeemed myself till I lived in Highland Park and went to evening school at Rutgers and took analytic geometry and calculus over again, and got very very good grades in it. It was just too much going on in my body, I guess, when we met, that I couldn't somehow, since he was a math major, I couldn't do the math. I've never figured out why. This happened in college. Nothing. Well, we did interesting things like discovering a, a, a tunnel from the gym building, which was across the main road, to the other buildings on the other side of the road, which housed the math and science buildings. Anyway, we were the only ones able to go underground and stay out of the rain. I don't think we ever told anybody about this tunnel. I'm sure it was completely illegal for us to use it, as you do in college. But college was a good experience. I had very good biology teachers. I was able to do some stuff on my own. Not that it worked, but I did stuff on my own. Went down to the markets and collected things that were decaying and tried to culture what was in the decay. It didn't work. But it was fun doing anyway. Again, I had the same problem in college, in classes, especially in the biology class, where they knew I knew all the work, and I would start to talk about it, and I was so slow they couldn't wait for me to finish. So they hardly ever called on me, even though they knew I knew all the answers. The same thing that I hit in third grade in elementary school. I forget words that I knew. I was not a good public speaker. I was never good at oral recitation. In fact, I almost flunked out of college because at Brooklyn College, you had to pass a speech exam in order to graduate. This is because they wanted you to get rid of your Jewish accent, your Italian accent, all the accents, and speak standard English. And I'd get up in front of the class, and I was absolutely unable to speak at all. I'd run out of the classroom into the bathroom. So I almost flunked out of college because I couldn't do this. I finally overcame it when I started teaching. Somehow, I don't know how, I overcame it then. And I taught for many, many years. I taught for about 9 years. 11 years. I taught for 11 years. 9 years with script. But that hounded me, that I couldn't speak in front of a group for so many years. Yeah, I grew up. But not till I was actually teaching. When I was teaching at my own pace, I wasn't under pressure. I think that was the difference. Anyway, that was college. I had some very good friends. My partner was the one black in the classroom, a darling boy, and I think he had a heart condition, and he never came back the next year. He risked me out. Well, I was going to fly anyway. But it would have been nice if he'd asked me, because he was such a nice person. I was with most of the boys that I started out with in biology, the ones that were seated at my table. They used to come to the house and we'd study together.